Yeah. Hey guys, welcome to the WashTube Podcast. I'm Jeremy Messer,
and I'm Mike, the Fresh Rinse.
We've got the Fresh Rinse, baby, and we are so excited to be going live with you guys on a all-new podcast where we can deep dive and talk about business and talk about life and see if we can keep each other going and motivated and hopefully help you along the journey. Anyways, we're just popping on here. Looks like we've got two people on at the moment. I'm going to try to see if I can pull up the comments. If you're on here, Truth Seeker, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Mike, is it giving you the option to see the chat on the right side?
Oh, let's see. I see private chat. Let me see. Looking for comments.
So, hey, if you're on here on Facebook with us, you have to go to StreamYard. We're using StreamYard. And what you have to do is you have to give it permission to take your information. That way we can actually see your name. So not sure who said what's up on Facebook, but what's up? It just says Facebook user. Are you seeing that, Mike?
I am, yes.
Okay. I see we got Gary and we got William Cooper on here.
Let us pray. That's
Let us pray. Yeah, Patrick.
These are just a bunch of losers who have nothing to do on a Wednesday night.
Being
Gregory ought to be in prayer meeting or something. Yeah. Just realize what night it is.
It is Wednesday, isn't it?
There's Benjamin Gregory. I can see his Facebook name has just popped up there.
I see that he's typed in here. I can't. Let's see. I wish it gave me like a link to share with you guys. What's up, Jay? Man, got the same initials as me. Yeah, like I said, if you're just hopping on, hey, Alex, what's going on, buddy? If you're on Facebook, we're not seeing your name and picture or nothing like that because we're using StreamYard. So if you want to hop over on the StreamYard and give them access so we can get a hold of you and see who you are, that way we can have a conversation with you guys, we'd be super grateful.
So, Jeremy, how do they do that? Is that just StreamYard.com?
Yeah, let me see if I can get a link on it real quick, Mike. And StreamYard.
While you're doing that, so good to see everyone. Really appreciate you guys joining us. This has kind of been in the works for really a long time. And we literally last night said, let's just do it. So that's why there was no real great announcement. I think today at 5:00 we announced it. So I don't know how, there's not a great spirit of expectation there that a bunch of people are going to join us, but maybe that's best because our first outing here, someone said your first podcast is always your worst. Your first book is always your worst. Your first song is always, so the sky's the limit. And I'm super excited about this. So the idea is we're just going to be talking often, very generally speaking, but often as well we'll have topics. And tonight's topic is a positive look into 2024.
All right, guys. I just dropped the link down below in the comments section. So if you're on Facebook, love to see you guys. And who we're talking to. So you click that link, go in there.
I agree, Mason. Mason says it's the worst podcast ever. Yes, that's the idea. To encourage everyone else who has a podcast.
Maybe that's what we're going to change the name of it to.
The worst podcast ever.
I like it. That'd be like a super sweet shirt. The worst podcast ever.
Yeah, exactly. Classic.
Oh, the comments are coming out. We got 27 eyeballs on us right now. Super thankful for that. Let's see. I kind of missed a little bit of this. Who was hopping on 17 miles away?
We will be taking a few questions here in a little bit. They come in and there's just really no way of getting to them. I don't know if you've ever seen anything like this before. On one side of the screen, you just got comments coming in. There's no way really to monitor that between the two of us, but we'll do our very best because you know what? We're gurus. So we have we have all the answers. The worst podcast ever. But yeah, it's what an amazing 2023. I'll go on record and say it wasn't my best year. In fact, it was the first year in 9 years that I ever went backwards. Like every year has been elevated. And then I don't know. I guess I lost I didn't lose a contract, but one of my contracts really backed up on me. Whereas last year 2022, they gave me 51 opportunities. And this year they gave me like 20 or 25 or something like that. And so that didn't help. Plus I had like 2022, I had a huge factory wash apartment complex, and that didn't happen this year. So I took a few steps back, but I'm still extremely motivated, and I'm confident 2024 is going to be huge.
Absolutely. I guess from what I've heard, I wanted to put this on there because I'm pretty sure. I think is this Joe? Is this who this is? I mean, who else is cleaning all these gutters out right now? I don't know who we're talking to. I dropped a link. If you're a Facebook user, go find the link, give it access. That way we know who you are. I want to think this is Joe Deary. I'm not going to swear on it though. Maybe not. But
I'm not sure Joe knows how to use the computer. So
he's probably got Patrick doing it for him. So
that's probably more like it.
But 2023, along with what you said, Mike, I've from other people that I've talked to, I think that's been a sort of similar story for them. I myself didn't experience that. We had a great growth year, which we're still third year in, still growing. I know some guys have been in a little bit longer that I've talked to that's kind of experienced that. So maybe that'll be the case, that I'm still trying. I don't want to say like reaching my max capacity, because I've not by any means reached that, but I'm still just growing. And I am in a less populated competition area, I guess would be a thing. But we've got a great year. I've got to do new things that I've never done before. Cleaned a helipad.
You're killing with the hospitals and helicopter pad, and
I got
it's got insane washing.
I got the select vendor. I guess it's select vendor, the only vendor for 3 hospitals,
nice.
Which are part of a whole lot of more hospitals that may lead into that. So yeah, it's been a great year. I can't really say much about it. I'm very thankful. It was growth. I'd like to learn. So that's one thing that I'm doing over winter time is, it's like I'm trying to prepare for the harvest. It's
nice.
Sowing time. It's sowing time right now, right? So sure. I'm trying to make sure that my mind is right. I'm starting to work on my body, get my spirit right. And I'm just trying to get fully functioning on all cylinders for 2024, because I have a lot of big goals, trying to get some systems set up in place. And I know that a lot of you guys know that I still work full time. And if you didn't know that, I still work full time at the hospital, at least 3 days a week. I do three 12-hour shifts. So when I wash, I get 3 days to wash generally. So I call that part-time washing. And it really feels like it's more than part-time. So that's one of my big goals looking into 2024 is positioning myself to step away from that obligation at the hospital to pursue this full time. I mean,
and I should probably be preparing myself to do some marriage counseling for you and your wife.
Yeah, I mean, we're open to it. We'll just hop on Zoom and do it.
It's you mentioned that, and that's a great segue into a great conversation, because here we are talking about positioning ourselves for an amazing year of 2024. And here you are, Jeremy, as someone who is not full-time. You haven't been afforded that luxury. And we call it a luxury only looking back. Like when I started 9 years ago, it wasn't a luxury. That's all I had. I had no money. I had no job. I had no leads. And 9 years ago, jobs weren't what they are now. Right. Like if I needed to tonight to support my family, I could probably go out and put in some applications and just, walk in and start working somewhere, Amazon, whatever. But that wasn't the case 9 years ago. Here you are. What are you doing that's really setting you apart as a part-time washer? Because, dude, you're killing it. And that has to be extremely inspiring to even full-time washers who aren't killing it as you are.
So I guess when I started, this was pretty much COVID time. Not really COVID time as far as washing, because I didn't start washing till 2021. Okay, so that was about a year and a half after COVID had started. What it led into was COVID happened 2020. I'd been working like 5, 6, 12-hour shifts a week at the hospital. I was kind of getting burnt out for like the last couple of years.
No doubt.
Because I worked a lot of overtime. I'm just crazy. My dad was a guy that if you didn't work 60 hours, you wasn't working, right? So that's kind of my mentality.
You hadn't even clocked in until 40, right?
Yeah. No, you really hadn't because, and I just think that about from my upbringing is, he worked in the strip mine, so he ran equipment above ground, but he would work like an 8-hour shift, but he was like 2 hours away from home, and he drove back and forth every day. So, I'm used to, like, a man's supposed to go out and he's supposed to work, and that's what we're supposed to do as, for a family. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to, my dad said there wasn't no reason for me not to work 6 days. So I've worked 5, 6 days, but
sure.
So COVID started happening and I was getting burnt out, and I tried to do lawn care. It's like, okay, there's lots of yards. Everybody does it. You can make a little extra money. I didn't, I was just some guy trying to mow some yards, and that really wasn't working out. It wasn't working out for me because, when you're off of work and you're supposed to mow someone's yard, but it rains.
It rains
3
days in a row.
3 days in a row, and you're like, man, I was off work. Like there was
Forget
my time off. Right. So I go back to work, and they're expecting their yard to be mowed because it's finally dried up, and I can't mow it. So it's like it's a bad business practice, right? It didn't make sense for me. It didn't make sense for me to do that. So that was just a couple of months, and then I was like, well, let me just shift toward landscaping. Maybe I can get some landscaping. Maybe I can just go in and do some, some refreshing, some mulch, some gravels, some bush, trees and stuff, trim some stuff. I did several of those jobs, but people kept asking me to pressure wash like a shed or a sidewalk or the house. And I was like, I don't have a pressure washer. I legit did not own a pressure washer.
God, what a loser.
I know, right? I had one about 15 years ago that was electric. And I was like, oh, well, my dad has a gas-powered pressure washer, and it's got like 4,000 PSI. I think that'll work. It was a Craftsman, of course, about 2.3, 2.5 GPMs. So what did I do? It's like, hey, I need to borrow that pressure washer to do this lady's sidewalk, or she's wanting this shed done. And I remember just doing this and trying to somewhat learn a little bit on YouTube, and I just wasn't finding the right people. Honestly, I was.
You hadn't found the fresh yet.
No.
I bet I wasn't even on yet.
This was before the fresh was really putting some fresh content on YouTube. Right.
No doubt.
So I think I came across what's that guy's name? Dan's vlog. Is that right?
Yep, it is.
I think he was one of those first guys I came across. I was like, oh, well, okay, let me see this. And it just kind of started from that. But anyways, cut that I won't dive into a whole lot, but I went out and I bought me like a 18-foot wand from Northern Tools, and I was doing like a 2-story house with pressure, and I was just that guy. I was breaking my back, my shoulder, and I'm like, God, this is $200. This is crazy. Like, what am I doing to myself? And so my first, so that landscaping year, I don't really count like as my start, but I guess it kind of was, even though I wasn't a pressure washing business. I was a landscape business that was just trying to do a few odd pressure washing jobs. And I'll never forget, Ben, if you're on here still, I got a message on my page, business page, from a lady over in Parker's Lake. Ben, I don't know where that's at. It's in Macquarie County. And she's like, I need my roof cleaned. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll clean. Is it metal? She's like, yeah. I was like, oh, I can definitely clean the metal roof. You can't mess that up.
Bless him, Lord.
And it was green. And I bet it was 15 or 20 years old, if you're picking up on what I'm laying down here. And I could not get it cleaned because I didn't know what I was cleaning. And I just told this lady, and I hate to see even what that looks like to this day, because
you won't even drive into that neighborhood.
No, it's like an hour out my way, and I ain't never going back over to do no jobs. But anyways, it hooked me. That hooked me because I did that lady's roof. I did a few other houses, and I learned that I could go get some Pool Essentials, put it in a pump-up sprayer, and clean the side of a house with the pump-up sprayer, and I rinsed it with a pressure washer.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to. So I told Amanda, that's my wife, as it was getting colder. She's like, what are you going to do? She's like, your mom business didn't really work out. And I told her I hated landscaping. I still hate landscaping. I don't have any landscaping at my house. I've been here. He's seen it.
No doubt.
So I said, I think I'm going to pressure wash. I got that kind of like crazy look, like, are you sure? So anyways, I did a lot of research, and I say a lot of research. I was on YouTube from, no joke, probably like November, maybe even like late October, but November to pretty much up until like March. I think I started buying some stuff in March. Got the LLC in April. Was still buying stuff because I was just paying cash while I was working at the hospital. I was just paying, I was working those 5 and 6 days, so I was getting that overtime. I was just buying some hose, buying some hose reels, buying an injector, doing this, learning what a downstream injector box was, remote box, and this and that. So I was trying to put it all together, how to build a DIY manifold. And because I knew I didn't have a lot of money, but what I had, I thought I could just keep reinvesting. And we went to Louisville. She went with me. I went to Russ Johnson's store, Southside Equipment.
Yep.
Hey, I want to start pressure washing. I don't know what I need, but I know I need hoses, reels, and ball valve, and this and that. I said, can you help me?
Can I pause you right there? And just for those of you who are out there who are just starting out, the very last thing you ever want to do is ask a vendor what you need, because they will sell you everything. You need everything, according to the vendor.
Thankfully, thankfully Russ is like,
he's top notch.
Russ is awesome. Russ is my dude. I probably still buy 90% of the things I buy from Russ.
Likewise.
And obviously it's because he's in Kentucky. I get most things next day.
I do as well in Ohio.
Yeah. So I can't, and it's super easy to call and talk to, and he knows everything. But Russ Johnson, you were mentioned.
So fast forwarding to where you are now, and you're really thinking about hitting the eject button on your professional job. And by the way, someone asked earlier if in the comments if you were a doctor. You might want to take 30 seconds to explain that you are not.
Other than being a doctor of love, that's about it.
I love it. So you are not a doctor, but you are thinking about hitting the eject button on your full-time job. and diving deep into pressure washing. And how does that make you feel? I mean, you're nervous.
Yeah,
Really.
so I am a respiratory therapist, by the way.
Okay.
So that means we do ventilators, life support, and breathing treatments, right? If you can't breathe, we're your people, okay? It's almost like we're not a nurse, but it's like a specialty. So I'm like a one-trick pony right there, okay?
Nice.
So, yes, I want to hit the eject button. 10 years in at the healthcare, slightly burnout. It's not a terrible job. As my dad told me when I was younger, son, you get you a job with heating and cooling, or, air and heat and indoor plumbing. So, I mean, that was kind of what I was told to do. But it's nice. The pay is okay. It's definitely not a lower paying position, but I've never been the guy. I just like working for myself.
Sure.
And I think that's what we all kind of like about being an entrepreneur. Yeah, Russ will shoot you straight. Absolutely.
So one Facebook user says, "What if we can't breathe because the love doctor Jeremy took our breath away?" I can see that.
I can see that. Before.
Sure, she has. Sure, she has.
Yeah. So I think 2024 is going to be that year that I do that. Now, I don't want to say I don't advise people to step away if you're part-time to go straight into full-time. I think that's I don't want to say I think that's like bad information, but I think that you should have a plan.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
In my head and what I've told myself when we discussed, there's a financial number that the business has to hit before it validates that for me.
Absolutely.
So we hit that last year pretty good, and that's not even really factoring in the Christmas light add-on that we did. So
good.
That was one concern, but now that I think the winter work has kind of been resolved in theory and slight practice, I only did 5 jobs, but I didn't really even promote it.
And you're speaking of the Christmas lights there, just to clarify.
Just to clarify, yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But
Truth Seeker says, I've been self-employed for 12 years, and it's really hard to imagine ever working for someone else again. And I want to speak for all of the entrepreneurs out there. It's not a skill that you learn. Either you have it or you're not. There are a lot of guys who are washing who would serve their families better, serve the pressure washing community better if they worked for someone. They're just not gifted as a business owner. I mean, they may even be lazy as a business owner, but as an employee, man, they could kill it. So for me, I will tell you that, having been a pastor for 25 years full time and never doing anything else other than that, the greatest bulk of my adult life, when I left full-time ministry, and I'll share that story sometime, maybe on my own channel. But when I left full-time ministry, I tried to work a few jobs, and I couldn't. I functioned well as an employee. I gave my best. I think the people that I worked for would say, he was stand up and did a great job. First one there, last one to leave, that kind of thing. But it didn't fulfill this entrepreneurial spirit that is just birthed within me. It's like it's ingrained in me. I don't know that I could work for someone else and be content doing it, or be satisfied doing it. So my story, very, very quickly, and I know we're kind of up against the clock here, but my story very, very quickly is I was washing my own house with a borrowed pressure washer, 2.5 Honda engine. That's the only thing it had going for it, but just the smallest unit you could possibly find. And a neighbor comes over and asks, how much would you charge to wash my house? And I thought, wow, people get paid to do this. I mean, Jeremy, I was going to town. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. I want to pause there and say, for the first 2 years of my pressure washing business, I didn't use SH. I didn't even know what SH was. For 2 years of washing houses, all I knew to do was to use pressure and maybe some simple green or something. I had no idea. Just call me an idiot. I guess I was. But I told my wife then, when that nice lady asked me if I would wash her house, I said, I think if ever we were in need of gainful employment, I think that I could do this pressure washing thing. Now, I was full-time pastor. It really wasn't on the radar. I wasn't considering leaving full-time ministry at the time. But I would mention it from time to time. And then a handful of years later, probably 5 or 6 years later, in fact, because that was probably 15 years ago when that incident happened, or that situation with that nice lady. And I told my wife, I think I would like to do this. So when I left full-time ministry and I needed employment, that's what I did. I said, I think I'm going to pressure wash houses. She said, what's that? I said, I don't really know, but we'll figure it out. And so I stepped out literally on faith. I couldn't find a job that was suitable, even though at that time I was working 2 jobs plus driving Uber on Friday and Saturday night. And then I would preach on Sunday morning. So, and I was killing it for 2 years before I really got into pressure washing. And when I did, I finally just decided to jump in to the deep end. And I've just never looked back, because it has been giving to me. It made sense to invest and give back to it. So pressure washing has been good to me. It just certainly has.
Give that an amen right there, brother. So, Mike, you were talking about 2023 was just slightly.
It wasn't what 22 was.
Right. It was just slightly. I don't want to say disappointing, but that's not the word I'm looking for. Just not what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and I, maybe that's saying the same thing.
It wasn't like a great big difference. I don't, based on what you said, just ever so slightly. So my question is, what are you putting in place, or is there some sort of system, or what are you thinking about doing differently for 24? That might be a pro secret tip here that you can share.
Well, really, it's always the same for me. I have 2 or 3 objectives, things that I plan to do every single year that always pay off. Now, before I tell you that, let me preface that by saying that as I kind of dissect 2023 and I ask, now, why didn't I meet the goals financially that I wanted to? It's because 2022 was so lofty. I mean, I went from, in 2020 and 2021, I washed 400 houses. Now, that was stereotypical for me. That's 400 opportunities. Very, very typical for me. But in 2023, I washed 451 houses. So I jumped up a 20% or about 15% there in 1 year. That's a huge increase. So to go from 400 houses year after year after year, and then to go to 451 and then expect to go to 500 may be a little bit lofty. So I set my goals higher probably than what were realistic for the economy that you cannot predict. And again, based upon how high or how great of a season I had in 2022. So again, now fast forwarding to those 2 or 3 things that we have to do every year. For me, it's always upselling.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I'm going, here's the thing, Jeremy, I'm a one-man crew and I have no desire to ever have even a helper other than on commercial jobs or some large residential jobs, perhaps, roof cleaning and whatnot. But I love being an owner operator, and I'll be 53 next month. I hope to wash until I'm about 60. And until then, I really have no desire to have an employee. So I can only scale so much.
Right.
So those who are at this point, I will say this, at this point in my business, if I hope to really increase like crazy amounts, I would have to hire someone and 2 or 3 people get multiple trucks on the road. You really can't. And this isn't me bragging. This is, if I'm bragging on the Lord. And I mean this sincerely. You really can't wash much more than what I wash in Cincinnati, where you're only going to wash 9 months out of the year, unless you want to do gutter cleaning. And of course, as you do, you're speaking of Christmas lights. The great luxury of washing for me is I get to stop around Thanksgiving, but you just can't possibly do more than what I'm doing as a one-man crew. So my options are to change some personal systems, which is for me is always upselling. I've got to do more of that. And I'm lacking in that. I'm not doing my 5 rounds like I promised myself I'm going to do every year. I'm not answering the phone every single time, and I really need to. I'm not always calling people back when I say that, or in a timely fashion. If I change those 2, 3, 4 things, then I'm going to top out, and at that, I would be absolutely satisfied.
Gotcha. That's solid. That's some solid background there. Some solid advice. You also have a few other things going on for you too, such as today's show sponsor, the Fresh Rinse Media.
Yeah, that was a shameless plug. Send me your Venmo and I'll send you some money.
I'm gonna need an affiliate link. Okay.
No doubt.
10% commission. Anyways,
a few years ago, I've always done, just to capitalize on that shameless plug. I've always done my own media. Just kind of gifted in that way, and I praise the Lord for that. And people were like, "Well, would you do media for me?" Meaning social media ads and some printing materials. I've always done my own things, and it never crossed my mind to offer that as any kind of a benefit to other pressure washers. Literally out of the blue, I thought, I think I'll do this. Sitting on the couch, I thought, I'll do this. So I threw some ads on Facebook about my marketing, and yeah, it's not. There's no way I could do this full time, nor do I want to at this point. But here, I'll say this, and I'll shut up about that because I don't want to rob the time for my own benefit. But here's what we say so often, Jeremy, in the pressure washing community. We discourage people from going outside of the pressure washing community to get their pressure washing. For instance, if someone were to say, "Yeah, I mow lawns. Sure, I'll wash your house," we would discourage that, right?
Yeah.
If someone is a roofer and they're excellent at roofing, but Nancy asked them, "Hey, while you're here, would you wash my house?" We would discourage Nancy from asking a roofer to wash their house. So often we do that, however, ourselves in the pressure washing community. And in context here, I'm speaking about media. We go to outside sources to have our printed media or our digital media put together for us when we've got it in the pressure washing community. I would encourage people, if you're not going to ask me, that's perfectly fine, but search out someone in the pressure washing community who is already doing media and let them help you. It may actually cost you just a little bit more sometimes, but at least you're supporting someone in the pressure washing community. So that's my shameless plug there. I do 5x7 cards, business cards, door hangers, yard signs, the A-frame signs. People, you got to get you an A-frame sign for the price that I'm selling them. But hit me up. I won't go. We'll do that some other time on my own personal time. But
no, you're good. I mean, those A-frame
You brought it
sides,
up.
you're giving them away. I mean, really. I mean, they're
Honestly,
so
I make
sweet.
very little off the media. It's true.
Yeah, like I mean, that's so it's such a deal. It really is such a deal, and I'm that way. Like, I'd rather do business. Well, first off, we do business with people we know, like, and trust, right? I mean, that's kind of that's how it works.
That's the
So
idea.
Mike,
Yeah.
a lot of people know Mike, and if you've ever talked to him, you can trust him, and his prices are just, man, they're good, and they're not, they're very competitive, and I find them to even be better priced than some other bigger places as well. But I'm not trying to. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I don't really know. But Mike's my buddy, and he does work, and I've bought stuff from Mike.
So speaking of buying stuff from Mike, Matthew, and forgive me if I'm not pronouncing your name right, Matthew, Rocha. Matthew just recently purchased some products from me, and he has a question. He says, Mike, have you considered using Jill's office to answer your phone so you can be more efficient with getting back to the people? I have. I'm also cheap, by the way. Is there a pressure washer is there someone in the pressure washing community who will answer my calls? I don't like to go outside if I can keep from it. But yeah, a lot of people use Jill's office. I've never heard anyone who uses Jill's office or something comparable speak against it. I only hear people who don't use anything speak against it. But those of you who use Jill's office, most of you would say that's a classy way of doing things. Yes, I have considered that. And that is, by the way, a great way to scale your business without hiring someone legitimately, is to outsource some of these things. For instance, having a CRM. That's a great way to scale your business without hiring someone, and then having something like Jill's office to answer your calls. That doesn't mean, by the way, if you've got something like Jill's office, that doesn't mean that it's going to free up your time, because at some point you still have to call those people back. What it does mean is you don't have to stop working in order for that to happen. And it also happens late in the evening. You can spend more time with your family and not be interrupted. But at some point, you still have to call those people back. Great question, Matthew.
Here you go. You see what Charles said?
I don't see that.
It says, Mike, I'm sure Joe has plenty of free time to answer your calls.
Yeah, sure he does. I see that.
Joe be on the ladder tearing out a gutter talking to Mike, or answer the phone from Mike.
Truth Seeker said this. Truth Seeker says, notice Jeremy didn't say anyone likes Mike. He said we know him and trust him. Well said. Well said. Yeah. So one of our Facebook users has asked, how do you guys like Mark-8? Jeremy, you have Mark-8, don't you?
I do. I've had 2 years now. Right at 2 years.
This is my third year. I just entered year number 3 with Mark-8, and I absolutely love it.
I think I got maybe I'm going into year 3, because I feel like I feel like we got those about the same time.
I think that we did. In fact, I think we had we kind of initiated together. Yeah,
more or less. I think it was right around that same time. I personally love it. There's some things I've noticed that I wished it would do that I don't think it can do, or I'm under the impression that Jobber can, but Jobber is very expensive and I'm cheap as well. So the only thing that I wished it could do is I wish that I could have 2 profiles set up on an account, one for my wash business and the other one for the light business. That way I could.
Yeah, you can't.
I don't really want to keep it separate, but if I send an estimate, I want to send the estimate from Kentucky Light Pros instead of Kentucky Wash Pros.
So Jeremy, to answer that, I have 2 accounts with Mark-8. I have one obviously for Mike's pressure washing, and then I have a second account with for Fresh Rinse Media. And so I pay the $50 a month twice. But I wish you could do that and then separate it. The beauty of having two separate accounts is that you can see in your what's that called, where you can see, you got the wheel and you can see what your expenses are, what your income is, and what your the outgo is.
Dashboard area.
Dashboard. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's it.
So I might as well just pull the trigger and do it when it comes time to do that next year. I mean, it's $40, or it's actually $30. I forget that I use the virtual number, so I'll pay an extra $10 for a virtual number. Yeah. But and I think it's real worth it. But I know a couple people said they've used Jobber. Jonathan, I know you said you used Jobber. What do you like it? Does it have that option that you can do too? I'm sorry, I'm looking at the comments. I pulled up Facebook so I could actually see who was commenting.
So yeah, this one here we see Christmas Lights Installers Northwest says that Jobber does in fact allow you to. He says, I have two profiles with Jobber, one gutter washing and one is Christmas lights. And I don't know if that's on the same account, but it sounds like he's saying that you can do that.
Hey, so that's nice. Installers, if that is the case, can you just verify that is with one account or two accounts, the profile? Does it cost you any more to do that? I guess I should say.
You're probably, I'm going to step out on a limb here and say that an individual is probably going to like whatever they use, if that's all they've ever used, because you don't have an experience with anything else. People say, how do you like Mark 8? And I say, it's batting 1,000. It's batting 1,000 because I haven't swung at pitches from anybody else. That's all that I know is Mark 8. But man, people will slam everything. I don't have to tell you.
Yeah.
It may not match everyone's personality, but I love Mark 8. It allowed me to scale my business without hiring someone. And there was a question there I wanted to read. Let's see here. Someone said, just don't use Thrive. I appreciate that. I mean that sincerely.
So let me just elaborate a little bit more on Mark 8. My first year I used Joyce like that, kind of trying to figure out what pressure washing was and how to pressure wash, and Joyce was free, so it was super sweet, right? And it was helpful because it was a CRM, but it was not as smooth and as professional, in my opinion, as Mark 8, where I could, I like that I can give someone a notification, we're 15 minutes out, we're 30 minutes out, we're coming, we're here, we started the job, your job is complete. Here's the invoice. Okay, here's the follow-up email with a review. Then, if I don't hear anything, I can just set a sequence up, and boom, here's another one in 72 hours. Boom. Yep. Now, I should say, in all transparency, I don't have those follow-up sequences set up, even though I know they can be. I'm super, we're in a small town. So I text all my clients. So all my clients that I have, their phone numbers are in my personal cell phone. So I have a really nice pre-worked up text base that I think me and you have discussed this text before, Mike, and I have just saved it under a command or whatever, however you do that in your phone. So I can just type in like hashtag review and it auto-populates that. And I just send it to that person. I don't know that function. I don't know if you has your setup like that, but I text that, and I will text this person like 3 or 4 times because I am like hardcore about getting Google reviews. So I think that's another reason why in such a short time I've had pretty good success, to say. But back to Mark 8, I think it's great, and I think you should check it out. And if your guys are interested in checking it out, Mike might have a referral code. I've got a referral code. You can get 14 days free if you want to give it a shot and see if you like it or not.
Yeah, I enjoy Mark 8. Now, just kind of touching base on that real quickly. I know we're kind of getting away from our subject, but
yeah,
2024. So yeah, for those of you who do not know this, Marquette allows you, and I'm sure they all do. So literally, I close all my jobs over the phone. I do very few out of 409 opportunities this year. I may have done less than 10 in-person estimates. So that means I did 400 over the phone. And I know a lot of people would frown on that, but the difference is most of my customers work. So if I'm going to do an in-person estimate, I'm going to do it after hours. They don't want me there after hours. My wife doesn't want me there after hours. I don't want to be there after hours. So I close most of my jobs over the phone or via text or private message, Instagram, what have you. And I will literally, Jeremy, I will be talking to Nancy on the phone and we will agree on a price. And then I'll say, Nancy, let me get a little bit of information from you. And I will get that information. What she doesn't know is that I'm literally importing that information into Marquette as she gives it to me. And then I will say, okay, great. Thank you, Nancy. You should have just received a text. And she'll say, yeah, I did. I said, that confirms the date. And you'll get another one the day before. You need not respond to either one. And immediately Nancy is like blown away. She's already on the calendar and she has a text message before we're off the phone confirming that the job has already been closed and she's expecting me to show up on that day. Yep. And then I will get a reminder. Of course, it's in my calendar automatically, but she gets a reminder the day before. I get a reminder the day before. And so there's none of this, man, I forgot to show up at Nancy's house because I didn't read it in my book where it was handwritten. You know, that's those days. Some of you can operate like that. I couldn't operate like that. So Marquette has helped me tremendously in that area.
Yeah, I think it's a powerful tool. Any CRM is going to be powerful. If you don't have one, anything is better than nothing.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Because how many times, and I've still been guilty of this when I'm out, when I'm out, that I will write something down on a sheet of paper and I don't know where it's at.
No.
It is.
You wiped your mouth with that and threw it in the trash. You know what I mean? Just like,
yeah. So I had a guy call me. I was at work at the hospital. I could answer the phone. I took the phone call. He's like, hey, I'm so-and-so. You did my dad's property. And, we've got this house was like 5,200 square feet. So it wasn't a small house by any means, right? And we need the gutters clean. We're needing the house wash and the concrete. And he said, I know it's starting to get a little code out. He said, but if you can just give me an estimate, and just let me know, that'd be great. So what did I do? I just had a piece of white paper. I was at work, scribbled it down.
Nice.
Loaded it up.
Classic.
And forgot about it until about a week ago. I found this piece of paper inside my backpack in a book that I had broke down, honestly, probably 2 months ago. At least 2 months ago.
Nice.
So,
it's real professional.
Andrew's going to get a phone call from me maybe tomorrow because I was just kind of waiting after Christmas and holidays because I kind of found it that in between. So I'm going to call Andrew. I'm like, hey, man, you remember we talked about that? And I'm hoping that it's going to go good. But I have done that before, and it does not go good.
That's right. Yeah. I've had to make many of those apologies over the years. And it does. I've had several of them say, we've moved on. We've already found someone else. And guess what? They tell everybody around the campfire when pressure washing comes up, they may not tell who to get, but they'll tell who not to get. And you don't want that reputation. James Jenkins says he cleaned a 1983 Mongoose 26-inch yesterday. You cleaned one. You did not pressure wash one. I promise you that, you jerk. If you did. All right. A few more questions before we're almost at the hour mark.
Yeah. So let me answer this question here. This is from one of our Facebook users. A virtual number. So inside of Marquette, you have the option to send out like a text blast. So you can click on all the clients, or if you have them in different categories, whatever, you can select a certain client, right? So say you want to say, let's just say you want to send a text blast out like for February, okay? And say, hey, springtime's approaching fast. If you want to get the early bird special and get on our books before we get booked up, blah, 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 however you want to word it, reply back yes or whatever. And so when you send that text, if you don't have a virtual number, it's going to come from like one of those text messages you get that's like 867-9 or whatever, right? It's going to look like a real funky number. So they're going to know that it's not someone with an actual number, but with the virtual number, it's going to look just like a phone number. And what's really cool inside of Mark 8 is there's a tab, and it gives you the option to text back and forth with that person through Mark 8. Now, I don't know about on the mobile app, but on the desktop, because I love using Mark 8 on the desktop. It's so much more in depth.
It is, yes.
And you can, well, I say desktop. I use a Microsoft Surface, so a fancy laptop tablet, but you can text from that number. You know what I'm saying? Now, I think that I don't think they can call you on that number. They may be an option to use it so that number forwards to your number, but I don't have that option turned on. It's only for text.
It's only for text, right? As far as I know, it's only for text. So Michael Lowe, which is, by the way, just can't say enough good things about Michael. He asked this question: what do you guys do with your leads? Hold on, I just lost it.
Mike, was that a super chat? I greatly appreciate that. If that's what that was, I just saw that come through.
Thank you, Michael. What do you guys do with your lead info in the field? I'm going to give a little scenario here. I'm standing at the gas pump, and guy or gal comes up and says, "Hey, I see you pressure wash house." And they always ask, like it says, Mike's Pressure Washing. Are you Mike? Mike, I got the name right here. It's all over everything. Are you Mike? Yeah,
no, and, that's Michael.
I have some more stories about that I'll share sometime. But so what I do is I get their information right then. I'll say, I always, here's another shameless plug. Always, I reach up into the dashboard. I give them my 5x7 card. Their mind is blown because they were expecting a small little, the 1.5 by 2.5 card. And they're like, oh, wow, that's cool. They always say something of that nature. And then I'll say, now you can call or text me anytime, but let me do this. Let me go ahead and just get your information, and I will text you some prices. See, if you do that, and you don't have to text them prices, you can text them information. It doesn't matter. Yeah. And so you get their phone number right then. And I just put it in my phone right then. They're always fine with that. I always thought they wouldn't be, but people are just fine with that. And then when I get home that evening, I will then text them or call them and say, "Hey, Nancy." It's always Nancy. I don't know why that is. Very popular name in Cincinnati. Hey, Nancy. It was so nice talking to you at the gas pump today. I'm not a salesman. I'm not here to sell you on anything. But I do want you to know, next Tuesday I have an opening, and if you're wanting that, now's the time to jump on that. Mike, that's all I got for you, buddy. That works for me. That works for me.
I want to come on that question of what you said. I got this comment pulled up. I want to say something about this real quick. So if you have Mark 8, I'm not sure who commented this, but if you have Mark 8, there's actually a Mark 8 Facebook group. So I highly encourage you to join that. What's her name? Stephanie Mark 8, I think's her name.
She's no longer with Mark 8. She's no longer with Mark 8.
So whoever's doing it, there's a group, and there's tons of videos on there, and I think they even have a YouTube channel. But it's really one of those things where I highly advise you to get on desktop and play with it. I mean, there's so many things, right? Maybe we can touch on this later, or maybe we can actually get someone from Mark 8 to hop on here and talk about it in a future episode. I'm sure they would love to do that. But back to what Michael was saying, and I want to see if I can share this, because this is one thing that I have pinned on my Facebook page, that we're talking about lead capture and stuff like that. So I have this link also saved. So if someone comes up to me and I'm super busy, I don't have anything to write their info down if I can't go get it right then and there. Let me see if this is going to let me do this. I'm having a little anxiety to make sure this is going to work. So let's see if I can shoot this. Let's see. Is it showing? What's it showing? Is it showing anything? Can you see my screen?
No, I don't see any. Michael asked if Nancy is like Karen. You know, she has multiple personalities. So she's good people. Ba-boom. Like
I'm trying to, I want to do a screen share, but I can't get it to, oh, that's super close.
That's kind of cool. One Facebook user says, I use Mark8 to generate Google reviews. Yes. So when someone, as soon as I leave the driveway, so to speak, and I click the send button, or the complete tab, it automatically sends them an invoice where they can pay if they weren't home. And then it also sends them I think after they pay, it sends them a link to my Google review and allows them to leave a 5-star Google review. And by the way, real quickly on that note, on the Google review, as far as Mark8 is concerned, you can set it up in your Mark8 account that if anyone gives you anything less than a 5, if they give you a 4, 3, 2, or a 1, before it goes to Google, it goes to you first, and then you can contact that customer and resolve any issue so that you don't get the negative review. That's only if they went through Mark8 to give the review in the first place.
Right. So I'm going to show you what I got here. Okay. Super easy. This is also pinned to the top. Get your free quote. Click the link, right? So you click this link. And this is something that you can set up totally free. And they have to give you an email. You have to fill their name out. They have to give you the address, phone number. I always ask for an estimated square foot. You got water hookup, because I didn't have that on there before, and then I'd show up and there's no water. Like, you get really messed up on that, right? What are we cleaning? What kind of siding? What services? It's super simple. It's not a lot of questions. They can fill this out in less than a minute, and boom, it goes over to my Google email, gives me a notification, boom. But what I'm saying is, if I'm out in the field, I have this saved. So if someone comes up and like, hey, we'd like to get a quote, I just very quickly text them that. That way they can fill that out. If I don't have something to write with, like if I'm out actually actively washing, I'm just jerking my phone out, boom, boom, boom. And 10 times, well, I would say 9 out of 10 times, they just fill it out.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, thank you very much. Super easy to set that little form up. It's nothing crazy. I do believe that Mark8 does have a form. And I also do believe it's an extra $10 a month for their lead contact form, or whatever they call that. But this is free. It stays with you. And like, you just keep this list. So it's an excellent little thing. Is there any more questions or comments? I know we're vastly approaching the hour mark, and I want to be respectful of Mike's time and everyone's time.
Well, I'm going to make a confession here. Is it okay to make a confession?
Only if you sing it like that, or if you say, these are my confessions. I'm just kidding.
I have been persuaded, and now am kind of addicted to the Hallmark Channel. So I know I just kind of let myself out of the closet on that one, but yeah, I got to go spend some time with my wife. I get to go spend some time with my wife. When what is it when Calls the Heart is on? So we got to watch it. A lot of questions have come in, but
you got your Kleenexes.
So probably the greatest question I see there, a Facebook user just said, will these podcasts be a regular thing? And Jeremy and I have talked about that. We would love for that to happen if you continue to watch, and we would continue to do it. And we were thinking about Wash Wednesday, so we could if Wednesdays are good for Jeremy, they're typically good for me.
Yeah. The as you know, my work schedule vastly changes, so I kind of like this 8 o'clock time frame. I think it works out pretty good. But if there is a time when I am working, then it may be like a 9 o'clock or an 8:30.
Sure.
We'll give an update on that day, but I think Wednesdays is going to be great. So. I need to stop the screen. I'm hearing echoes. That was my fault. I'm still learning. We're still learning how to do this. This is our first live stream video podcast. So also, by the way, it's in the works that this will be going out on audio podcast as well. So
fantastic.
Yeah, we're gonna make it happen. That's what
Jeremy's the guru there.
We make things happen.
Michael had what did you call that earlier? Where Michael made the donation?
I want to think that was a super chat. Michael, comment down below if that was a super chat, because it popped up $4.99.
So
Michael, really appreciate that.
Michael made a donation to the cause of $4.99. Now, would you take just a second, Jeremy, and tell me how that works?
Yeah. So super chat. Yeah. Thanks, Michael. Give a plug for Judd West. I love Judd West. Mike loves Judd West. I've had several in-depth conversations with Judd West, and I'm doing this at Michael's request. I would have gave Judd West a shout out anyways. But Judd's a great guy with a great product. Absolutely. Stand up.
I'll take just a second there, and I will echo that. I'm hesitant to share a story of the generosity of what Judd did for me. You know how like you do something for someone, and even though they didn't say don't tell anyone, you just know that telling implies that he'll do it for everyone, and I couldn't guarantee that. But I will tell you that probably 5 years ago, I had an incident in the field where I needed support, and I needed an overnight part that required me to buy a whole kit. I'm not going into all the detail. Judd broke into the kit, gave me the part that I needed, and sent it to me free of charge. Back then I couldn't afford the gas to get to the job. And so that just meant the world to me. Maybe a lot of people do that kind of thing, but Michael asked that we give him a shout out, and we gladly do that. So again, the super chat, again, how does that work? Where does that money go? What account does that go into?
I don't know. I think probably my account. So
how convenient.
Let me take back to that and Venmo you. So hey, what really might happen? We'll have this conversation off camera, but we may end up just creating a whole new YouTube channel called the WashTube Podcast. We'll work it out. We'll get back with you. Don't worry. We'll be back next Wednesday for sure. But as we're kind of landing the plane here, I just want to say I'm so thankful that you guys jumped on and have been very active. This has been very, very fun. I really do appreciate it. This has been a vision that we've had for several months. But Mike had to go do rehab on a duplex. Didn't get a studio set up. But anyway,
we actually, I don't know if you remember this or not. I'm sure you do. We began talking about this in the Cascades or whatever of the hotel there at the Huge, and we began talking about this. So this has been in the works since about September, but it took just making the time to do it, really.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll go ahead. We'll land the plane. We'll hop off of it, and just want to say thanks. And we will be back next Wednesday at 8:00, and we'll have us a new topic.
I have something on my heart before we leave.
Yeah.
You and I have not discussed this. We have not discussed this, and I never thought about it until just now. Jeremy, I want to ask you on air, would it be okay if one of us each week closes in prayer?
Hey, sounds good to me. I wouldn't want to do it any other way.
All right, well, let's do that, and then we'll hit the eject button. We'll see you again next Wednesday. Father, it is in the name of Jesus that we come to you this evening, thanking you for all your blessings throughout 2023. We are so excited for 2024 because we know that you are the creator of 2024. You have only good things in store for us. So I pray for our watchers, those who watch our program, our channels rather, those who've jumped on tonight asking questions and the sort. We ask your blessings over them as well. And may everything that we do glorify you as you prosper us. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
All right. I'm out. Mike,
Peace.
the Fresh Rinse, I'm out.